Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Transform the Way You Order, Manage and Analyze Earth Observation Data. My name is Dobrina, and I'm a product marketing and manager at UP42. I will be your host today. Before I introduce our amazing speakers, let me quickly show you how to use the webinar platform we are using today. You can use the chat window at the bottom right to interact with us or let us know if you're facing any technical difficulties, or you can use the very specific questions tab to ask us any questions. Please do so because we will have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the webinar, and we also try to answer your questions as much as we can during the webinar. And now back to our speakers. We do have Pelle John, our head of product, and Alex Bishop, our pre-sales engineer, joining us today. And if you're wondering what you will be hearing from them today, we will start with a quick intro of UP42, tell us what we do, the challenges that we solve, as well as give you an overview of our platform. But we won't stop there. We will deep dive into the platform components by showcasing a real-life example of how you can monitor and analyze railroad networks. And last but not least, stay until the end because we will give you a sneak peek of some exciting new features that our teams have been busy working on. And without further ado, Pelle, over to you.
Thanks, Sabrina, for the lovely introduction. Yeah, because we have so many new participants today in the webinar, we wanted to give a quick intro into UP42, the platform, and what we are doing, and then jump in directly into the respective product components with some demos from Alex. So always we start with what we're actually doing. So UP42 is a geospatial platform and marketplace. And our goal, and I think we've done a pretty good step over the last 4 years, is to simplify the access to data, streamline the data management of all your geospatial demands, and empower imagery processing. So you, the solution providers, the end users, the one who is sitting in the GIS environment, reading and analyzing geospatial data, is empowered and can integrate with us seamlessly without the unnecessary hurdles around it. Currently, in UP42, we are roughly 100 employees from over 30 countries in our headquarters in Berlin, still growing together with our users. So what we want to do and who do we help? We have hundreds of customers all around the world with geospatial teams which are accessing data, processing their data on top of the UP42 platform, either via our console or user interface or directly via a deep SDK or API integration. And we want to do that by removing technical and commercial barriers around geospatial data. How do we do that? Let's dive a little bit more into the details. So we have over 80 plus partners, from EO data to providers to processing providers. And what we saw in the past is that if you're going to each of these providers individually, the setup for commercial alignment or an agreement, as well as the technical integration, differs vastly. And we want to provide a simplified access to the data and analytics. We have users which are accessing dozens of different collections across different providers, and setting this up each time in terms of commercial and technical integration just costs an extremely more money and also resources. And we want to secure that you have an easy way to find your geospatial needs for your specific project. Moreover, we are working hard on trying to make this jungle of geospatial data sources more transparent, meaning we are harmonizing the search, we are harmonizing the way where we are accessing tasking collections. We are trying to standardize the data formats and processing deliveries, and also make the provider-specific licensing and compliance agreements more uniform, more transparent, and easy to follow. On top of that, in the end, what we don't want is providing you an SFTP server or something similar to integrate with us. We want you to provide an easy way to visualize, verify, analyze, and integrate with our solutions. That's why we have multiple ways on our platform to consume and access and order your geospatial data needs for the downstream use cases you have. If you're looking into the UP42 platform, we have 4 main offerings. The first one on the upper left is the catalog, where you can access a broad range of archive data from optical, SAR, elevation data, as well as different kind of system types, let it be balloons, aerial, or satellites. In the same sense, from having access to already existing archives, we are also providing you access with tasking collections. So being able to task a satellite, or in the future an aircraft wing, to collect and get the data you need for the point in the future. We will also provide you with some price estimations and also with some possible opportunities, something which Alex will show later in the demo. Once you have all those data, one of the key questions is how can I access and manage it? And we are harmonizing the metadata and the deliveries into standardized formats to make it interoperable and make it easier for you to integrate. And also reflect the commercial and internal specifications while setting up tags or letting it filter for specific properties you are giving orders and the deliveries you have. In the end, most of the time, the data which you receive is not necessarily in the right format. So we are offering some processing to enhance your data to create actionable insights at scale. All of these components should be accessible via the cloud, and I think you will see in a little bit in our demo how you can access it. But we have some platform services underneath, so you can manage your users or multiple user accounts, different roles, compliance automation, and we also have payment services, so you can directly bump up your budget on the UP42 account to purchase your geospatial needs. If you have any questions ever coming up, we have a very comprehensive documentation hub where you can access detailed information about all the collections which we are offering on our marketplace and our platform. And if this still is not enough, we have a very excellent customer success team, one of it with Brian, who is today in the call and will also answer some of your questions to help you and guide you to the right step so you have an easier access to your needs. In the end, we provide 4 different kind of interfaces. One of it is the console, the user interface, where we will show most of the demo today because it's just a little bit easier to grasp of what kind of functionalities and components we are offering. But we also let you integrate with the API and SDK without any additional surcharge, being able to scale your operations up to thousands and thousands of orders a day. In the end, we also have an S3 add-on, so you can also access your existing data directly via the ArcGIS Pro plugin or other options. Now, coming to the next part, I will probably hand it over to Alex.
Pelle, if I can ask you to continue for a while, Alex will be joining us in a bit. He's experiencing some technical difficulties.
That's always how it happens with the webinar. Once he is in there, once you are in, some problems appear. Cool. So what we wanted to do today is to showcase the UP42 platform on a use case. We can basically show you everything around the console. It will A, take a little bit too much time, and B, it will probably not fulfill all the questions you have, but often we have a very specific use case, and we picked one today to work around the UP42 platform and show the capabilities we have. And what we often see is some, for example, monitoring of railroad networks. So users come to us, and end users or analytics providers, and they have the use case in mind to enhance the railroad network safety and reduce the risks of major disturbances. How do we want to do it? By monitoring and analyzing changes using geospatial data over time or with different kind of data sources. And why? To minimize the risks of any detection or minimize the risk, enhance timely maintenance, and ensure early detection of hazards. We have normally 3 ways to access data, and what we really want to do is not let you order scenes twice. That's not cost effective, it doesn't really value you. So what we normally recommend as a first step, as one of the hundreds of organizations who are on the UP42 platform, to see what kind of data is already in your account across the different users, across the different teams, and across the different projects from the past years. And we offer you the data management capability to store, access, and organize your data in one place. It is stack compatible, so we follow here an open standard. So you have a common set of metadata for all of the existing deliveries, let it be open data, let it be SAR, let it be multispectral, to exercise in one unified way and enable interoperable search and downstream integrations, which we already have some customers which are processing and accessing hundreds of scenes every day. The second part is some sorting and customization. So you have the ability to give tags, give the scene specific titles, and basically apply them to specific projects, and also enable advanced filtering and sorting capabilities. These tags come in very handy because in the end, for your respective orders and transactions, they're also in your transaction history, so basically your budget management, and you can apply these scenes and orders to specific projects and have a better budget management in the end of the day, making secure that you are in time and in budget for your geospatial needs. Also, if you are ordering specific scenes, we also want to give you the opportunity to do some visualizations in map view. We are not a full-fledged GIS. We always recommend to use QGIS to stream the data into, or ArcGIS if you're doing some, I would say, more advanced operations. But to validate and to confirm that you have the geospatial data you need, we offer you some visualization and map functionalities. Moreover, we provide all of the data in the end in cloud-native data formats, so it is possible to stream specific data in any time of the day. So you can integrate it also into your web applications. Now, coming into the second part, once you have set up your respective project, you can save the geometry in the geometry library. There are no restrictions around it, so you can put any size in there, give it a specific name, and manage it across users. And then you can basically also filter on specific tags on it. So for our use case, like we do with Rail and Webinar. So this is our use case where we will also show you that we have already some existing data. This geometry library can be used across all of the different components of UP42. So you can first check what kind of data do you have in your storage. Second, fulfill these needs with archive data, or in the end, task the rest. So now, Dobrina, I have to ask you if Alex is back and can do the demo.
I would say for now, maybe we postpone the demo until he's back online. You can continue just covering the platform components.
Cool, I will continue. Need to be a little bit more flexible here today. The second part is once you have screened your existing data, you hopefully adjust your geometry, and you have a smaller AOI to search for the most cost-friendly option to obtain geospatial data, going into the archive and searching across different range of collections. For each of the collections and specific resolution, we have multiple providers already on the platform. So, for example, one of our powerhouses, Pleiades Neo, can be substituted with Beijing 3N or some other collections down the road in the future, or even some higher enhancements with aerial data, where you then choose Vexel, for example, or Hexagon, or you even do a super resolution product with our recently released Pleiades Neo HD 15 centimeter resolution multispectral imagery. You can search across the different kind of sensors. So currently we are offering optical, SAR, aerial, and elevation. And I have something exciting also in the demo, which we also want to shortly tease here down the road. And you can order this data and search this data with a common set of parameters. The resolution, the acquisition date range, and also select specific collections. We will also offer you from next week on the opportunity to see similar suitable collections, so you can expand your horizon, because often if you put in cloud cover 20% and you can't find necessarily the right scene, we will offer you comparable products with like 21% or 22% as an option in a second view. In the end, if you start the ordering process, you will normally use the UI to obtain your first imageries. But once you are a heavy user of the UP42 platform, you need to scale. And we have users, and I think the peak was, 26,000 scenes a day from the last year, from a specific user who had a large project to fulfill certain requirements. And we are able to fulfill and deliver you the data in a matter of hours. So then once you have your catalog part and you have selected a couple of scenes, you can use the rest of the AOI to task. And for the tasking parameters, you can capture brand new satellite imagery. We will show you a list of all the possible collections sorted by resolution, pricing, and minimum order specifications. And we also allow some complex geometries. We had recently a customer which had a large project in the US, which had around 100 polygons, so a multi-polygon project over different time spans with different collections and providers, which we were able to stem. And we are very proud of it because the project was in the end fulfilled successfully. Moreover, you can also see some instant price estimations. It's not the exact price estimations in the end, but we will give you a corridor of where you will land so you have an idea until you get the feasibility study. Each of the steps is automated right now. So in principle, you don't have to interact with any customer success engineer or sales advocate. You can place your tasking order, get the feasibility, and accept then the respective quotation in the end. Most importantly, if you have hundreds of orders, you also need to be able to manage what is being delivered and what is not. And so we will display you the percentage of the respective tasking order of how much is fulfilled, and also give you additional information about the order process and the delivered geometry and remaining geometry. You have also the ability, if not everything was captured due to, for example, for optical weather conditions, to go back and search in the catalog over the remaining geometry, because during this time frame, there might be some scenes captured from certain satellite constellations, which we are applicable cost-effectively fulfill your respective project. And now I think Alex is finally back, and he might be ready to give us a demo from step 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, apologies about the technical issues, but power went out in the neighborhood, so I had to drive to the co-working space. But here we are. Let me share my screen, and we'll get the demo going. All right. So Pele probably mentioned the use case today that we're trying to, monitor a rail network. The idea, of course, with UP42 is that you can use our platform for any industry, any vertical, but today we kind of wanted to guide you through our capabilities with that kind of use case in mind. The first step that we wanted to showcase, or the first capability we wanted to showcase, is the data management space, right? The idea that we can leverage our platform and other users or other workspaces within our account to see and find if data exists over a specific geometry. And we can use that by using some different filtering mechanisms. For instance, I can load a geometry. Perhaps this is a historical geometry that we had, or it's our new geometry, to find, stack items or UP42 assets within our data management space. So again, these are collections or images, different types of products that have been purchased in the past that we can leverage, right? They've already been purchased. Our account owns them, so we can use them. And not only can we use, for instance, a search by geometry or geography, but you can leverage any of these other filtering mechanisms to fine-tune your search. Today, I wanted to showcase the power of tags, that we can include tags and also exclude certain ones. And again, this might be tied to past projects. These can be project IDs you have. These can be any type of identifiers that you've set as standards within your company to manage data. And you can do that, of course, through UP42. Also, these tags for more enterprise type customers who are working within the scopes of projects. These tags, make their way all the way into the payment system. And so if you want to, retrieve and figure out how much has been spent on what project ID or tag or whatnot, you can also do that in the credit management space that's available here to, keep an eye on invoices and stuff. But here we can see with just a few simple filters, actually over our geometry, we have this play ad scene from 2021. We can see that here. Pele probably mentioned, our standardized format for data sets delivered. That's one of the big proposition values of UP42, is that we want to make it simple for our customers to use and leverage any data, regardless of the provider. So having this unified format, the stack catalog that you can use, allows us to extract a ton of metadata, as you can see here, any information that is relevant to this stack item or the scene. And it also allows us to do some really cool stuff, because now we can extract the raster data sets, the vector data sets, and we can plot these. And we can show those here through our tile service in the data management space, which is really convenient, because now you can have a quick overview, a quick look at these, the imagery or whatever data you purchased on UP42 directly here in this space, even before retrieving it. As you can see, this is just the multispectral data set, so it's a slightly lower resolution than the panchromatic one. But that's no problem, because we have processing capabilities on our platform. So in the past, a team purchased this data set, and it's not pan-sharpened, but our platform can easily do that. And I think Pele will perhaps show that in a minute, unless I missed that too, but that's fine. Yeah, so this would be for the data management space.
Maybe one thing to add here, Alex, if I might.
Yeah.
One cool thing is also that we now included the stream URL also directly in the user interface. So if you say, hey, this is enough for me and I want to do further processing in your QGIS environment or Felt or ArcGIS, you can take the stream URL and directly paste this URL as an import into your GIS application. And use the direct access to your cloud bucket to basically do any kind of additional index calculations, for example, or if you want to adjust your AOI in terms of project coverage, or just have a more detailed view in your application. So this is directly accessible in the console as well as for you on the API.
Yeah, exactly. And did you mention the cloud optimized geotiffs too, Pele?
Yes.
That everything's mapped. Awesome. Great. Okay, doke. So that is for the data management space. So this is pretty cool. In this, example use case where we're looking for data over this entire geometry in blue, well, we do have some reference data from 2021 over a portion of this site, which is pretty interesting, right? We can use it as a base layer or base conditions to compare things moving forward. With that, though, that's not quite enough. We need to find existing data, too, to see if we can fill in the coverage. And for that, of course, we have our catalog, right, for archive. And as you could see here, I didn't have to, reload the geometry. That geometry kind of is cross-referenced between the different sections of the platform, whether it's tasking, data management, or catalog, so you don't have to reload that. If you wanted to, something I didn't show you is you do have this button to upload geometries into the platform if you needed to. You can look at the documentation to see which formats are allowed and the geometry limitations. But here, as you can see, just by loading this geometry, the platform ran a search, an archive search. And on the left here, we have the available collections over this site. Now, this actually isn't that many returns. And if we were to go in other parts of the world, you might see many more collections available, right? So we're only showing the data sets that are available for the given filters or given parameters. In this case, 20% cloud cover. I'm not putting in a minimum or maximum resolution, although you could filter on that, and of course, acquisition dates. But here, interestingly, we do have some very high resolution options, along with some medium and low ones. And this Pleiad Neo looks pretty interesting. So I can open up that this dropdown and kind of navigate into the full database that's available here. And I can toggle on and off these different quick looks to see and have a preview of the image, which is kind of nice. This one fully overlaps my scene, which is quite ideal. And we can see here in the scene information that it's from 2023, which is more than acceptable for this site. And there's a lot more, metadata available, especially for Airbus products here in this information. If I wanted to purchase this scene, Then I can simply select a processing level, say the pan sharpen reflectance if we wanted to, do some vegetation indexing, for instance, and I can add that to my cart. I could keep shopping for maybe an elevation product if I wanted to also, or radar data sets, and I can add these to this cart and check out at the same time, which is really convenient. Again, one of the main proposition values of our platform is allowing you to easily find available archive data and getting access to it in a convenient way, right? We use this credit-based system, so you kind of pay for the data you need, right? You're not tied to subscription where you might consume data, in a month that matches that subscription payment you have, or maybe the next month you need to buy more data, but you can't because you're kind of tied to this predefined system. Well, with us, you pay for what you need when you need it. So some months you maybe will spend a tremendous amount of money, which would be great for us. And some months maybe you'll just buy 10 euros worth of data, which is fine too. You're delivered the pixels of the raster that intersect your geometry, right? It's clipped to the geometry input. So the size of your geometry will define the price you end up paying. So you really want to put some thought into those geometries before you buy data, or you just put big geometries, and we're very happy with that too. Order names, you can put a custom name if you wanted to, and again, these great tags that make their way all the way through the platform, into data management, into credit management. It's really, really powerful and quite simple. I've already purchased this scene, so I'm not going to buy it again, but you certainly could. And we can track the orders here in our orders page to check on the status of the order, get the order ID if we wanted to, which is a convenient way of finding the data in our data management space. We can verify the collections here. I can modify my tags right here too, which is really cool. And we have a link to where the data set lives in our data management. Pele, anything you wanted to mention, or should I keep going?
I think important is that we are constantly increasing our data collections available on the archive. Just recently, we also published Black Sky for rapid monitoring with a large archive for the small sat constellation, as well as we added our first stereo data for Black Sky, which you can also use for 3D reconstruction, for example. So we're constantly adding new stuff, so stay tuned. Also follow our product newsletter, so you can stay up to date with the newest releases which we are offering. And there will be also a new design for the console coming this week by our lovely product manager, Yusi, which will make the comparison and search even easier.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, and again, some parts of the world will have more of those collections that Pele just mentioned, while others, for instance, this more rural part of New Zealand, will have less available archive, and that's just something to be aware of. So here I used the order ID to find this this scene in our data management space. So it's a stack item in our catalog. And again, all the same functionalities here, where we can load this full resolution preview again, or this full resolution product's not even a preview anymore. And we can zoom in and you'll see the difference between this product and the Playad, for instance. And this is kind of interesting because we can kind of see here, actually there was some sort of logging activities perhaps happening around this rail, and maybe some ongoing activities here. And again, we can also look at the other bands. Now, this is really just for a quick display. The colors might not be stretched perfectly. Of course, retrieving this data set and using it yourself and taking ownership on how it looks is, the next step in your process, right? Depending on what you're trying to do. But again, this is pretty cool because we can see here there's some trees that have fallen, maybe on purpose for logging, maybe not. In any case, this high resolution product from Playad Neo at 30 centimeters is quite good looking already. And I think Pele in a minute will show us the upsampling to make it look, even nicer. So that's for, leveraging the data management along with the archive. And with that, we've been able to fill in, this smaller geometry here that we have that's 5 square kilometers, and we only spent, 90 euros on data, and we have this nice, really high resolution product. But with that, maybe we have a bigger area, and maybe we need to, fill in, more of the network. And so we can bring in a geometry and then look at tasking, right? Maybe, and again, the archive and catalog was from 2023, and perhaps that's not good enough. And we need data today from this year moving forward to see really kind of what's happening in the field. And so with that, we do have the tasking platform that we can leverage to do just that. And so Pele, can I just dive into this, or is there something you wanted to? Yeah, cool.
No, dive into it. Before you jump to the next page, I would probably add something quickly, but yeah.
Okay, cool. Again, the tasking platform, you have the ability to select different data types, so radar products or optical. And here, the cool thing is that we really wanted to provide visibility into the cost of things at the right time, right? Because in so many projects, the price ends up being a big limiting factor. And so instead of having customers, place orders for feasibility study with all the parameters and working on the geometries, well, we wanted customers to have a quick idea of how much a tasking mission might cost. And so here you can see the off-the-shelf kind of credits per square kilometers for each of these products, so you can essentially easily compare them. And the great thing about the tasking platform is that you can select different ones, and you can have a quick idea of the cost of things. So I'm going to bring in my tasking AOI in again. As you can see, this one's bigger. I made it 108 square kilometers because there are minimum order sizes to be aware of for tasking. As you can see here for Beijing 3N, it's 70 square kilometers, and for Pleiad Neo, it's 100. So essentially, all that means is you can put in a smaller geometry, but you'll still be paying up to this amount regardless. It's like, pay to play. That's the entry price, and then your price per square kilometer on top. So yeah, I just wanted to, get all my money's worth, so I put in 100 square kilometers. And here, the cool thing is I can select these collections, and I can see on the bottom the approximate credits. So, the high-level estimate with off-the-shelf pricing again for these sites. We found Pleiad Neo in the catalog, so I'm going to stick with this Pleiad Neo for my tasking order for consistency. And I can move to the next stage in this nice 4-stage process. Here, now I can fill out the parameters for this tasking order. I could put in a description now if I wanted to. Let's say I want the tasking period to go for about a month. I just want one nice image over this period, one mono image. 10% cloud cover is pretty standard. 20 degrees of incidence angles will allow more opportunities and more potential moments of acquisition. I want an orthorectified product. That's fine. We can leave it in geographic. I want the reflectance product again because I might want to do some vegetation indexes, and I want it to come pan sharpened with this expanse. And then the geotiff. And again, I can add our tags again. Webinar. Cool. Here you can see we have this new feature that's in testing that can tell us whether or not we need a feasibility study or not, and if there are opportunities available. In this case, the geometry is slightly too big to provide the opportunities, but there are situations in which it works really quite well. So I do want to showcase that capability because it's something really cool that we just added to the platform. So this would be more of the size and shape of the geometry you can use. So if you're maybe not doing rail or linear network, monitoring, but you're doing more, defined, site-specific kind of monitoring, and it's not so elongated, you can use this capability to discover, the potential moments of acquisition coming up. So let me just fill this out again. And for this capability to work, you can see it only accepts like shorter periods. So you can only put 7 days for the system to return the acquisition moments because it can't plan out too far in time. But I'll breathe real quick. Yep, that's fine. And there you go. And you'll see it's going to populate these potential moments. So it found 6 opportunities over, Washington Dulles Airport in I guess it's Maryland or Virginia. And here are the potential moments of acquisitions in the next 7 days. So this is a really cool feature, and it works on several collections on the platform because it just gives you some insight into the possible moments of acquisition coming up. So again, if you're in somewhat of a rush or you have a smaller site and you want to confirm that you can do some tasking, perhaps there's some value here for you so you can have an idea of what's coming up and what can be done. Yeah, cool. Pele, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just would like to say this is a good starting point. There are some exciting opportunities ahead of now being also to skip in the future the feasibility study and directly place an order. Obviously, we have to work a little bit more in the restraints of the respective provider. So meaning that some smaller, leaner AOIs will be a little bit harder to estimate, but there's some great things in the pipeline, which this is the basic framework on to build on. And we are really excited because it will help you plan the acquisition process quite a bit. Also, what I also wanted to mention, if you cancel your order process, or do you want to submit the order, Alex?
Oh, yeah. No, do you want me to put in another one?
Yeah, I would just like that you start the process again, because we also wanted to highlight that from this week on, we will also start with our first hyperspectral collection for tasking. Oh, yeah. So in the end of the week, there will be the opportunity from Wyvern to task DragonNet 001, which is an additional data source, which we are really excited about. The opportunities for hyperspectral are massive. It's a little bit harder to work with, but it's just a really exciting collection which is coming to our platform. And I think a lot of people internally at UP42 are stoked to endeavor on the hyperspectral journey together. So stay tuned for the update later on this week and reach out to sales or customer support if you have any questions around it.
Yeah, very cool. I think that, looking at time, I think that'll cover some of our core functionalities, right? We looked at data management, the stack catalog, the unified standardized format. We looked at the catalog for finding more data and, of course, placing tasking moving forward in a variety of geometries. We haven't looked at processing. Pele, do you want to move to that section now?
Yeah, maybe you can shortly show that also we are tracking the orders and capturing the percentages of the orders, because I think this is just really important as well.
Yeah, so there's different statuses for orders, right? Once you place an order, you have this waiting for feasibility status. Of course, the next stage is a feasibility study is ready, and you'll be provided a couple different options to validate. Because this might be dependent on weather, or perhaps you put in a period that's too short and whatnot. There's quite a few things that we can work with to make tasking missions more feasible. And then, of course, the quotation, the final quotation that needs to be accepted in order for the mission to actually be activated and for data to start being acquired. But once that is started, let me move over to our account. These are just orders in my own workspace. But again, one of the cool things of UP42 is this functionality that we can navigate between the whole account and or just my workspace. And here you'll see we have some examples of this, like a progress bar here. I don't know if there's any other ones. In any case, if we dive into this one, you'll see that we have a nice coverage map. And we have these coverage completion values that give us an idea of how much has been acquired, what's remaining, and then we can have a look at all the data sets that exist over this order. And again, we can download the delivered geometries versus what is remaining, what still needs to be acquired, and then we can search the catalog for over the remaining geometry and perhaps leverage data sets that were acquired by other collections outside of our tasking mission. So there's a lot of cool things happening here. From a project management point of view, these two downloads here for what's been delivered and what remains is really convenient, especially for big geometries, for tasking missions that go on for several months. It's just very convenient from a project management point of view for project managers out there that might be listening to this webinar. Yeah, and that cool little percentage.
Also, you can see how many demos Alex have on a daily basis based on his ordering sheet. So thank you for showing it to us. Then I will probably go into the last section and also showcase the processing. So in the beginning of the year, we ramped up and announced the second generation of our processing platform, where we want to give you the ability to reliably, scalably, and easy use some of our processing algorithms. We started with one very simple pen sharpening, and now we have around 15 capabilities on our platform for you to check out. And I think our hot potato currently is from Naraspace. The Pleiades Neo upsampling, bringing down the resolution from 30 centimeters to 10 centimeters, which you can directly use on our platform in an automated fashion. And it's also a good example of what I would like to show you in terms of the SDK. So let me give you a moment where I can show the respective media. So if we are going here, this is a small notebook, just one example of the scalability the UP42 platform provides with our own UP42 Python SDK. And most of our geospatial customers are very well familiar with Python, so they tend to use the SDK. And it's just a couple of lines of code to basically find your data and process it. So normally how you start, like every good developer, you import the prerequisites, the respective libraries you want to use. Then you authenticate against the platform with your credentials, which are here saved in the directory of UP42. And I then search for the respective use case stack items. So here you can see, and I will make a short pause, that I initialize our storage, get the respective asset with the tag webinar, and get a list of a Pineo image and the PHR image, which I can then use for forward processing. Once I found these respective deliveries, I look into a little bit more into the respective metadata. And here you can also see the stack items for these respective deliveries from 2 orders being returned. And you will also have all the respective information around it. These are the standardized stack information, so they are applicable also in other fashions. So here you can see the feature list with the respective geometries, and I think my cursor will open it in a second. So you can see here all the properties we are standardized providing for all the respective orders you place in your storage, and also the individual assets which we are transforming in cloud native data formats like the cloud optimized TIFF Alex has been talking just a little while ago. And these are perfect for integrating in your process flow because much of the information you do not need to extract from a compressed delivery in some SFTPs. It's directly all available via the API. Then we are looking over the respective processing. So we have a process registry, much like our data product glossary, where you can get all the possible processing capabilities via the SDK listed. So you can see here the pen sharpening, the upsampling, or if you want to do some building detection for some smaller users who want to see what kind of buildings were detected, potentially over time. And then you just select one of the processing capabilities, prepare a job template. We are just putting in the respective stack item. So here the Pineo for the upsampling for the railroad, bringing down the resolution from 30 centimeters to 10 centimeters. I validate the input with our internal validation service, making sure that the requirements of the image, so the provided metadata and assets fit the configuration. I determine the cost, so I can already give you the respective costs up front, which will be charged by starting the process, and then executing the job and monitor the job via the SDK. The job track function will give you a success notice when the job has been captured, and then you can access the output actually the same way as you actually pull in all your orders as a stack item in your data management component, so you can directly compare it. And you can see also that I will now switch from the code back into the console because it's just a little bit easier. You see on the left here the upsampled image for 10 centimeter from the Pleiades Neo image, and I can display it, and I can also get the respective job input and compare the input with the output, validating that my process in the end produced what I expected. Yeah, this is just a small example. I would be really glad if you're trying it out. I always love the API and SDK a little bit more. And I hope you like the small demo of the SDK and our integration possibilities, because in the end, this is what makes UP42 really scalable for users with a lot of projects in different organizations and brings in the necessary automation which we are aiming for. Sabrina, if you could pull back the presentation for the last bit, so I can finish in around 1 or 2 minutes.
And just to be clear, that was not the full resolution upsampling output for people out there who are wondering.
It was, you need to zoom more in.
Yeah, it wasn't loaded. It looks really quite good. It looks quite good.
Yeah, because it's a cloud optimized GeoTIFF for performance reasons, so we can display it in the web. This is a higher resolution layer. When you zoom in, you will have your 10 centimeter resolution imagery.
Yeah,
I promise you.
Yeah.
Then what else is coming, or what is UP42 focusing on? Besides some of the things which we have already mentioned, bringing in more data collection, bringing in more processing capabilities, we want to scale with the organizations we have on our platform already and making it even easier for you to manage all your data acquisition and processing needs. So until the end of the year, UP42 will be focusing on bringing in more user roles. So we will have users which are more like an admin role, people who can place and manage orders, and then viewer roles where you can bring in other teams of your organization to basically search and use the geospatial data. We will further enhance our budget allocation and management capabilities to make sure that specific teams and projects only have access to specific budgets on the platform, so you can manage multiple projects or even multiple divisions in your organizations and scale with UP42. We will also bring in another payment method. We know and we heard the feedback that upfront building up your budgets can sometimes restraining. So for our heavy users, we will include a post-payment option and also account-specific pricing, which can then basically have certain discounts for a specific usage on the UP42 platform. And lastly, obviously, our core value proposition, which we showed over the last 45 minutes, the data acquisition process. We will bring in tasking templates, so you don't have to fill out the form. Alex, yesterday when we were dry running, it was already saying, I'm looking so much forward to tasking templates, so I don't have to fill out the whole form every time I have a demo. We will also offer you multiple catalog scene previews, so you can compare the different quick looks with each other and see the full coverage for your AOI. And much more. And just that you know, and also a short, again, reminder, we are publishing our product newsletter every 2 months. So make sure that you A, have a user account on UP42, and B, subscribe to our newsletter to stay up to date with the latest data offerings and features on the UP42 platform. That's, I think, it, Sabrina. So we are probably moving to the Q&A right now.
First of all, thank you so much, Pelle and Alex, for the super insightful, amazing presentation, despite some technical difficulties. Also, I wanted to thank the customer success team that has been very busy answering all the questions. Nevertheless, we do have now a Q&A, so I will start with some of the most upvoted questions. There was a lot of interest in L-band SAR satellites, so there was a question about, does UP42 have archived or tasking L-band satellites? And also, do you offer L-band soil moisture analytics as a solution via your analytics partner? So even though the question was answered, maybe something about future plans. And then maybe more for you.
Yes. So we recently published our new partnership with Astera, which is doing soil moisture index on L-band SAR. We are working on finding a good point in time to integrate it into our automated catalog offering, with the increase also from their side in the archive coverage of the soil moisture index. And then obviously looking down the road into adding more SAR constellations. We're already offering a broad range of other SAR providers like ISI, Capella, Umbra, TerraSAR X. And if the time is right, I think we will add more. And if you have a specific demand, I'm so happy each time to receive feedback also from non-users of the UP42 platform. So this is a great insight. If there's a need, if you have a specific use case, feel free to also reach out to us and tell us about it. And that's the way forward to making our platform better.
Thank you, Pele. I think the next one might be also for you. So is the UP42 platform pushing geospatial models? And if yes, what's the process for publishing a model on UP42?
Yes. So we have, I hope I understood geospatial model in terms of like processing capability enhancing geospatial data. If that's correct, we have a broad range of partners and we manage this network. And what we want to secure is that whatever geospatial model you are using basically has a return on investment. So we are listening closely to our user demands, also what prospective partners have to offer. And if we see a great fit, we will onboard it into our processing capabilities. So it's a very open discussion, also a frequent one where we check in with our partners, see what the recent developments there are, what currently we are up to, also what we heard from our user base. And if there's a right fit, we will onboard the processing capability as well. If you have some further interest, feel free to reach out. I think they already mentioned it, partnerships@up42.com. You can also write me on LinkedIn. I think we can be flexible there.
Exactly. So there was also a question about joining our marketplace. You can email partnerships@up42.com. We have, we rely on our partners for our success. We have a huge ecosystem of 85 plus partners. So yeah, if you're interested, just let us know. There was also a question about the Stera data for certain archive image. Is it available for certain archive image for new tasking AOIs or available for new tasking AOIs? So another Stera or band analytics specific one.
For Stera, the best will be tasking, most likely. It's unlikely that you'll find archive over your specific area. It's possible, and we can reach out and do a manual search for you, but tasking is most likely the best route for you moving forward.
And a question maybe for you, Alex, about processing level. So is there a need, if I need a specific accuracy in a final or rectified satellite imagery, does UP42 produce those custom products?
So no, we wouldn't do that type of processing for you. We might be able to recommend partners of ours that can support in that if you don't feel like doing that in-house. We don't want to manipulate the data in any way, really. We want you to trust that you're receiving the data as it comes from the provider. In the future, and maybe Pele can speak to this, we will be providing some processing capabilities that can help you do certain things, especially in the analytic ready type data sets in that theme. But no, we wouldn't be doing our orthorectification for you at the moment. However, we can work with some of the data providers are able to do more custom type processing. For instance, using ground control points, using different elevation models for orthorectification and that type of stuff. So in that sense, I'd say reach out to us. We can discuss what you mean by specific accuracies and if they're feasible and what product, what resolution you're thinking you need, and then we can kind of take it from there. But
I would second that. So offer rectification is something we will discuss and we potentially also down the road bring onto the platform. We had some very exquisite use cases in areas where some specific offer rectification was needed. And while setting up the tasking order in an automated way, we were also able to inform the respective provider to potentially offer rectify against specific ground control points or an elevation model. So it's definitely possible, but it's a little bit more custom, I would say, but happy to help.
Definitely.
Thank you so much, Pele, Alex. And there was a question about, can the 100 square kilometer be a linear AOI and not required to be a square one, which would mean multiple captures to cover the complete AOI?
So I can maybe start with that. Okay, the first one is a linear infrastructure for us and most of our clients still has a specific width. Is it the width of these respective tasking of a satellite provider? Most likely not. There's still a little bit more needed, but we can definitely fulfill it. We are looking into future integrations where a line integration might be suitable, but most of our providers and the commercial restrictions which we're currently having enforces minimum width. But we have some tools in the background to supply to you if you need to create a minimum width around the line. that's not very difficult to do. And we normally also help with some smaller scripts in terms of integration to make your automation as fast as possible.
Yeah, and then adding to that in the tasking demo just now, that generic kind of shape was to enable the opportunities feature to work properly. Because if the geometry doesn't match that, then the API won't return the valid information. So that's why it's kind of like specific to your use case in that regards. For those opportunities to show up, you do need like a specific type geometry.
Now that you're talking about tasking opportunities, and there was a question about moments of acquisition and what are moments of acquisition related to the feasibility study. So maybe you would want to take this one as well.
Yes. So there are two different parts. First of all, there are possible opportunities where a satellite image is captured or can be captured based on the respective provider and basically the orbit where the satellite is operating. And then the second part is the feasibility study. And it can be sometimes that there are no opportunities displayed, but the parameters are, I would say, so easy that the provider says, no matter what is happening, we know if the visibility is required, we can potentially skip it down the road. So one is the opportunities, basically the moments and points in time where a satellite can capture the respective imagery. And the second one is basically the requirement of a provider to add one additional step to provide your feasibility study, which you have to accept because they want to basically evaluate that what you have sent as a tasking opportunity is possible. Alex, anything to add?
No, when it comes to tasking, typically you'll have to, compromise on certain parameters. It's always a balance. It's going to be a balance of resolution, price, how long you can have your acquisition window be, and whether you're comfortable with tasking and you don't need a feasibility study because you understand everything that's going on and all the expectations are, understood, and or maybe you're new with it. And then in that regards, the feasibility study is very important to you so that, again, the expectations, understanding the expectations and just getting an idea of what is possible and what will happen in a given time frame and what the limitations might be is crucial. And that's where the feasibility study really comes into play. Specific moments of acquisitions, again, like Pele said, are more like theoretical moments, which can vary depending on incidence angles, right? If you have really restrictive ones, or you can open it up a bit, and cloud cover and competition. So there's a few variables at play there that you get used to over time, certainly.
And maybe another one for you, Alex. There was a question regarding also the AUI that you showed in your demo, that there was a question about long linear assets, whether they're valid. So maybe you can also talk about the AUI that you used in your demo and whether that's a standard AUI.
Well, clearly the geometry is valid because it went through the platform. In any case, you are correct in that there are certain widths that a geometry must have. So even if it's a linear network, it has to be at least 2,000 meters wide. And of course, if you're running into issues with geometries and AOIs, that the platform isn't validating it, you can reach out to us and we can help you kind of figure out what's wrong. The best I can say is reach out. We can have a look at your geometry. If you found that geometry that I showed misleading, I apologize for that. However, it certainly is valid. Yeah.
I would say I saw hundreds and thousands of it already. So it's a very typical use case for our platform, and very happy to fulfill this. Done 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And I think we have a question for one more, time for one more question. But before we do that, I also wanted to make you aware we have showed you our UP42 platform so much during the webinar. So here is a link if you want to take a look, immediately register today. If you're not a registered user, it should be now showing up at the bottom left of our screen. And time for one final question. We do processing of oriented imagery. So is metadata consumed by your platform for accuracy? We perform order rectification. So I guess following up on previous one.
Trying to figure that question out. Right. So clearly oriented imagery, we're thinking of aerial, maybe Vexel. By your platform.
I'm also struggling a little bit with the question. Maybe it's me. It can be that it's 6 p.m. and I'm just a little bit done today. I would say, Brian, I would be happy to follow up with you afterwards just to understand it a little bit better, if that's all right. And I'm very sorry if I haven't understood it yet.
I think that's a good way to end. We will, first of all, follow up with the recording, and we'll also follow up. I believe all the questions were answered except for this one. So, Brian, we will follow up with you as well. Thank you so much to our amazing speakers today, Pele, Alex, as I mentioned, also again to our amazing customer success team that has been doing a great job answering all your questions. Thank you for your attention, your participation, and have a great day or evening, depending on where you are. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.